Hey guys, happy sip day.
Happy
Happy
sip
sip
day.
day.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
I'm doing amazing. Loving the weather. It's a beautiful time right now.
I just came back from Disney. We only went for a day because, it's got me thinking about what should we talk about today? Budgeting.
Good topic to think about
When you
after going on a nice
You
Disney
definitely
vacation.
hit the budget for that family Disney trip. Yes.
I should have thought about it before, Just
That's
kidding.
right.
But no, Disney, it was great. But yes, as we talk about weather, and that makes me think about budgeting. So, uh, what do you guys think about that?
Well, when budget comes to mind, you can budget for so many different things. And for a trip like Disney, the budgeting comes in ahead of time, like Katie was saying, because you can budget for exactly what you want out of that trip. And the best time to do that is, a month or two out so that you can say, I want to put aside outside of my normal budget, which you set, a weekly budget for yourself, and set a monthly budget, a yearly budget. And we really encourage all three so that you can always know where your money is going and where it's coming from. So you can say, hey, this is how often I get paid. And this is how much I want to assign my money to work for me in whatever areas. Whether so when we think about budgeting, I like to start with what do I have to pay, right? What do I need to make sure I survive, have a roof over my head, and eat? So you start with those basics. You go with rent or mortgage, so that's home. Electricity, how much is that? Average, and then you just put that. There's so many apps that you can use or a spreadsheet, and then utilities. So that's your home, and then what's your normal budget for food? I know all know grocery prices have gone up, so those numbers have increased quite a bit. But you say groceries versus eating out, discretionary expenses like that, and then you can work your way back from okay, this is how much I pay for food, gas, groceries, home, and then discretionary. Now within that comes insurance and other various topics. But if we want to talk about budgeting for your life versus budgeting for a specific event, that's two different, topics.
Yeah, I
I
love
feel
it.
like you definitely focus on you have to like worry about your needs prior to your wants. The
Yeah,
wants come in that discretionary income portion.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. Drew and I really sat down the beginning of this year and worked on one, and I keep referring to it as like the different buckets and like where should be what and how much you should have. Right? Because ideally, you're also just saving as part of your budgeting, not just spending every dollar. Not all of us can do that. So, but yeah, you bucket that, right? What do I need to spend that doesn't change or stays relatively the same? What doesn't? And then what are some other stuff we want to do? And then what do we want to save? What do we want to invest? There's like tons of different buckets. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
the bucket approach is definitely the way to go, because then you can see which bucket is getting bigger and where you can adjust. And the likelihood is the needs bucket is the one that tends to get bigger when inflation is involved, and that's what we've seen over the last 4 years. Is inflation has gotten so high that the needs portion is taking up more and more income. A lot of people have been having to shrink their wants bucket or their savings bucket, and then that comes with the risk of not having enough in that savings bucket to then cover unexpected things that happen, right? Because there's always going to be unexpected things, whether it's a car, something at home that needs to fix, medical expense that you weren't planning for, not having enough for your deductible if you have one. So always want to, reality is we have to compare needs versus wants and see, hey, is my spending, is my savings bucket enough to justify my wants bucket?
Yeah. I don't know if Nav you'll condone this or support this. I like looking at our budgeting after all from our net pay, and we kind of front load a little bit of that savings and that 401k deferral ahead of time so that it's just out of sight, out of mind, and it's not an option to spend. So we've opted for a relatively higher deferral rate for someone our age, but it's just out of sight, out of mind. So sometimes it feels like our non-qualified savings might be a little bit lower than it should be, but I have to give my husband a gentle, friendly reminder. No, we are saving. We're just doing it on the front end. So I feel like that's a good kind of hack. Don't put that in part of your savings. Just see what you can live with comfortably on that back end, and then you're already automatically saving and hopefully saving some taxes. Which you got to talk to your accountant about and everything, but that's a big tip for us.
Oh yes. I love that because then you're taking the concept of paying yourself first and you're not using the gross number, which is not what we see, right? You're using the net number, and that net number, if you're working in a job that has a 401k or retirement plan, comes out after you've put money in. So then that gives you a peace of mind saying, hey, right now my after tax savings might not be as much, but I know that I'm setting my future self up to have more options, to have more flexibility because I have that money in tax deferred or tax advantage accounts, whether it's Roth or traditional, to give yourself options in the future. So love that hack. It's a way to just make sure you're feeling good when you look at the statement. Don't look at it all the time because it should be invested in markets and markets going to
Yes.
move. Right? But definitely give yourself a pat on the back if you're taking that approach because it's a good one.
Yeah. My pro tip on top of the pro tip is you see that smaller stagnant number, that what you're left over with of your net pay. So we do not every day. I like make it once a month and we start tallying the balances of our 401k. So at the end of the year, even though sometimes you feel like, oh, I budgeted, I wish I could have done a little more, you get to see that savings.
And that makes you
Hopefully
feel
well.
better. Yeah.
Performance and market permitting.
Right. Right.
Maybe not in April. All right. Well, good. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, this
And
was
take
great.
time to review your budget today, guys.
Bye.
Bye.